Welcome back to Bonded Voices. Today we're going to talk about what's the problem with student loan debt. It's important that we add that debt piece there because we really want to dissect, is this a problem? We hear about it all the time in the news. Political parties are rallying behind certain activities, but we want to take a moment to dig a little bit deeper. I'm Greg.
I'm Ian.
This is Loren.
So you can rip open the newspaper. Does anybody get a newspaper anymore?
I do. I put them in the trash straight away, but I still get them.
I know some people that have birds and they use them to line the bird cage, but you can't go too far without hearing the topic of student loan debt and forgiveness of that student loan debt. So I think it's interesting when you look back on over the last, whatever time frame you want to pick, let's say it's 40 years, and the massive increase of cost to go to a post-high school education program.
You know, I think I saw something on that the other day, and they even said within the last 12 years that the number's been taken an astronomical upward turn.
Well, they're lowering the standards to get into college now in a lot of different areas, so it's just a moneymaker, right?
Well, every time they lower the burden to get the money, so lower the interest rates and lower the qualification scale, they just get more people applying for it because they think they're getting free money to do something that's going to make them more money, and you get more applicants.
Well, that was the whole idea when I was in school, is that a college graduate will make significantly more. Was it 2 or 3 times more in their lifetime than someone that didn't get a college education?
Which, that's an interesting argument, because when you look at people that go into the trades and don't burden themselves with, if they needed to finance student loan debt, and let's say they went to a trade school and they went for a year or 2 and they learned a skill, they came out of there with much less debt, or maybe no debt if they were able to work while they were in that program, and now they're out honing their craft in the marketplace. I agree with you that when we were entering college time, that statement of go to college and you'll make more money over the lifetime. But I think we need to, as a society, dig a little bit deeper and think, now wait a minute, let's see, what does that debt load look like? And what does that do to someone? I can remember there were a couple of kids that I went to high school with. They were the first ones that I knew that bought homes, because they went into the trades right after graduating and they were off making money, qualifying to do whatever they wanted to do, buy a home. And the rest of us are sophomores and juniors in college trying to figure out how we're going to scrape up money to get beer at the next happy hour.
Well, the economy has changed a lot. When we were in high school, we had more of manufacturing in the country. Now we're more of a service-based economy. Mm-hmm. The need for the degrees aren't really used as much as they were in the past, because we're no longer the big manufacturing and engineering that we used to be.
Sure.
We're more about, let's be the service aspect of this, and we offshore all the engineering, we offshore all the manufacturing. So really, we have an overabundance of people with degrees, so that it floods the market and it drives the income for those people down, or some of them can't even get real jobs based on their degree.
The last stat I saw, and this is probably going back, I think about 8 years, was that it's in the early 30s that the person with the college degree starts getting ahead of the person who took the trade route. And now we're talking trade route with a decent job. Mm-hmm. Maybe they took an apprenticeship and could be a welder, it could be, manual labor, construction, whatever, right? But non-degreed. But I think it's early 30s that they end up passing them with a college degree.
And that data is a couple of years old.
Yeah.
Did I understand that correctly?
Yeah. 8 years. I remember it was about 8 years ago I saw that.
So one of the other factors that I think needs to be part of this equation of lifelong earnings and determination of, does student loan debt make sense, is what about how recession-proof is that line of work?
Right.
Well, here's the thing.
Are we going to talk about your art degree right now?
Yeah. We could talk about my art degree. But, and tangentially we will be. But the thing is that there's so many people get degrees that have no bearing or not that they're not useful in the economy, but there's no direct job related to it.
Sure. I
work in IT. My degree is in fine art. I have a Bachelor of Fine Arts. I don't have a technology degree. Everything I did was through self-study and apprenticeship. My first one was a network apprentice, right? So that's how I got started in technology. So I got the degree. The degree opened the door so I could get the apprenticeship, even though it's a different.
See, and I'm a big fan. I think the government, if they're going to still do what they do with funding student debt, even with these low percentage rates, because there's still a government finger on the scale here, why shouldn't they fund companies to have apprenticeship programs where you stay there for 4 years learning financial services or mortgage broking or IT, right, as an apprentice?
Yeah, that should be part of it. I mean, so if you think about it, I'm always a big fan. So my college was paid for with GI Bill. I, right out of high school, joined the military. Did you have to invest in yourself to get the GI Bill. It's not just, you went to the military and you get GI Bill. You had to invest a little bit. It was minor, but it was also teaching you how to take care of, this is an investment in yourself. So what if we had a system where everyone had to do some type of, it may not be the military, not everyone's cut out to be, a grunt. Maybe it's some type of public service where it helps them, gives them a GI Bill type program to help pay for college. Because right now, college is out of control with the pricing. I've got 3 in college, soon to be 4 in college, and it's ridiculous what the cost is.
Well, and if we take a step back and look at the structure and the massive increases in tuition costs because of the availability of money. So if the educational institutions don't need to sharpen their pencils, so to speak, and they've got an endless supply, theoretically endless supply, and if of new students to come in, and they might be able to sign them up for 4 years because they tie you in with, once you start, we're going to tether your credit hour cost to the year that you entered to try and keep you there for the duration of your degree program. But the way the system is built, I'm not sure if it's built with the student in mind.
It isn't, because you think about it, and we're going through this with our son at the moment. They make you feel like you're going to apply and we're going to accept you. So we're getting in. No, we're paying for it.
Right. And we're paying money to apply.
Yes.
So it's not just, hey, we really want your son here. You have to pay money to have them say, yeah, we want to go out on a date.
It's crazy.
Now, there are still some schools that are hard to get into. The Ivy League, definitely.
Sure.
There's some higher end education, but in the local colleges around here, it's pretty much if you can breathe and you can sign a check over to them, you're a student.
Well, and each one of the state schools here has put together some type of honor program to try and to compete against some of those other schools, the Ivy League schools. And I'm not drawing a direct correlation there, but what I'm driving at is these schools are competing for those same students. What would happen if tomorrow there was no student loan availability? What would happen to the universities?
They would all go bankrupt right now. They have no way of funding their own growth. I mean, if you go to...
But wait a minute. We pay taxes, and part of that goes to the state schools.
The amount of growth I don't want to name the local state university, but if you go around that campus, it is insane how much that has changed over from the time that I was there to what it is now.
Yeah.
the school owns all of that property now, and they're putting up high rises. There's a massive building effort going down there that supports the college community, but it's not actually, the students. And you have a kid there at this university. The rent for renting a bedroom, not a single bedroom apartment, but just the rent to get into these places for a bedroom in a multi-bedroom home is outrageous. It's over $1,000 just to get in, and that's just because the building going on.
So what's classified as a public university? Because all public universities are not-for-profit, right? And then you've got other universities that are for-profit.
Okay.
But what are classified as public universities? Is that state schools or?
Well, isn't that the Board of Regents that dictates the costs? And
I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. I would assume it's some type of tax-based funding for the institution.
Maybe if any of our listeners have got insights on that, we'd love to know more information about which colleges in which area of the country you're in are for profit and which ones are not, and how that varies price-wise. You are listening to Bonded Voices. Subscribe to us on your favorite podcast service or on the web at www.bondedvoices.com. Thank you to all our sponsors, and now back to the show.
Well, and I think it's important at this juncture, as we sip on our cup of coffee, and thank you for joining us, that I don't want this to feel like we are bashing, because as Loren mentioned, he's got 3 students in college and soon to be a 4th. There's merit there. Within the collegiate system, there is a benefit. There are nationally and internationally recognized schools that are based here in Arizona.
And certain jobs require a college degree.
I'm going to throw a red flag on this one.
However, the challenge that I have is there doesn't seem to be a correlation of students registering for coursework, determining a major, a check and balance of what will that major earn them if they were to find professional work in that study, and are they ever going to be able to repay their student loans?
See, I'm throwing a red flag because for me, everything in life should come down to value for money. And I don't think that exorbitant cost of college and the way they promote the college experience as if it's like, well, you're going to go party for 4 years. Hang on a second. No, that's an exorbitant amount of money for what? To come out with a degree in something that is going to get you an above minimum wage job to start with, and then work your way up while you're paying off that, where your parents are paying off that debt. I don't think there's value for money in it. I really don't. And I think that they indoctrinate kids as much as they educate kids. And I don't meet a ton of very impressive college graduates.
Well, it depends on what you're trying to accomplish with your degree. So I have my oldest daughter graduated with a degree, Bachelor of Science in Nursing, right? So that was required to get into the field of nursing.
Right.
But a majority of the degrees out there don't have a job set up for it. I know people that have degrees in forestry. There's a need for forestry, but the job market is very, very minimal.
Attorneys are the same way. Law schools are the same way. There's not enough attorney jobs for the amount of attorneys that they're turning out. Lawyers.
Yeah.
There's just not.
Well, and if you think about it, if you could put the cost of your degree is based on the need in the economy. So we need engineers. So we need structural engineers. So that would mean that degree is free because we're in need of that type of job. But
then the government picking winners and losers all of a sudden again then, right?
Well, it's the government isn't, the economy is. It's a capitalist system.
But who decides that, yes, we have that need, and now the state school is going to educate for free?
Right.
Based on the number of visas for workers. Ooh. And that there's a number out there. I work in an industry that's heavily subsidized with foreign workers. if we know that we need, 150,000 H-1B visas every year, new ones, well, let's just say that whatever degree that encompasses that job, that's free right now because there's a cost for the whole process.
So I want to take our conversation back a moment to where we talked about trade school versus college. What are the handcuffs that are on a college student paying back their debt compared to the liberty and freedom that's provided to someone who's working a trade, not paying off the debt, is building maybe a marriage that you maybe wait longer to get rid of your college debt before you do because you went to college. Mm-hmm. So you're not helping society by adding more kids to it. You're not productive until later. You're carrying a heavier burden in debt, which means you're probably not a consumer as much as the trade person is. So you think about the value to society as well. There's a lot of merit in saying that trade person not going to college is a lot more valuable to the society until they hit maybe, if that delta's 32, than that other person is.
I think those are valid points. I think that the time of when that data was published with regard to the crossing over between a degreed individual and non-degreed, I think that what we've experienced in the economy within the last few years,
it's probably 50 now.
Yeah,
I would argue it's probably well 40s, into the 50s. Yeah. Just knowing, I was at a meeting this morning and they were talking about the cost to rebuild a home and how there's a significant disconnect in society of what the true costs are for construction right now. And so that translates into a wage that's being earned that I would argue it's probably well into the 40s, if not into the 50s of breaking over that delta threshold.
Yeah, that's crazy. And that goes back, I think, to my argument about that person who's self-sufficient and earning and productive being a lot more valuable.
Okay, well let's go a few steps beyond that. Let's say that person that picked a trade and went with it. What we're not factoring in is how many of those people are entrepreneurial enough to work for themselves, doing their own work, or become an employer.
Right.
And then that individual that their friend went to school to learn how to run business is actually running their business and now has amassed an employment staff. Talk about contributing to society. Now they are an employer providing for other people within society.
Well, I think I told you my story about I had a water heater that burst, called someone to replace it. This young kid comes, I said, "Oh, you're here to install it?" He said, "Yeah." And I said, "Oh, how long have you been working with this company?" He said, "It's my company." I was like, "How old are you?" He goes, 22. I'm like, "Wow." I'm like, "Are you married?" He goes, "Yep." I'm like, "You got kids?" He goes, "Yep." I said, "You work for yourself?" He goes, "Yep, been doing it since I left high school." I was like, "Wow." I said, "And do you mind if I ask, like, how much do you earn a year?" He goes, "Yeah, clear about 100. At 22.
Yep.
No debt.
Yeah.
And he's running his business. He's that person you're talking about, right?
Right.
Who I guarantee now he has a staff.
Sure. Well, and we can't say that everybody that decides to go down one path is going to be successful in hiring people. And
it's never monolithic.
Sure.
Right. Yeah.
But that's sure inspirational on if you want to follow your own dream. There's a lot of people that go to business school and get stuck in middle management.
Yeah.
And they feel shackled to the organization.
See, I think the big one as well is, like, I don't think in college they're telling you to go out and have children. They're not telling you to go out and get married. They're telling you to take your job, take your degree, go out, have a good time, have fun, which is all well and good. But at the same time, we as a society need to keep the birth rate up.
Yes.
You have better families and less issues with health by having children younger rather than older. All of that plays a big part in it. So takeaways, what are our takeaways for people listening about college debt? We know that, the government's wiping out some debts for people, which is totally not fair to people. I've got a car loan, you're going to get rid of that? So that's a whole other issue, right? But the way student debt's onerous on people, what advice have we got for listeners?
Well, if you're going to talk to your kids about this, talk to them about what's their job possibilities with the degree they want to go get. Right now it's, you'll figure out your degree in 2 years. Well, you've already amassed, in state schools, you've already amassed $50,000.
You've got me smiling, right? Because how many kids are responsible for their own college debt?
Yeah.
They don't care. Their parents are paying for it.
And they're paying for the partying. So have a talk with your kids. Make sure you understand what they know the options. And I mean, I don't know. I would have a hard time paying for a kid to just party for 4 years and not have to be underemployed once they get out.
Right.
Yeah. And there's people that want their kids to have a different experience than they did. Maybe they didn't go to school, and so they watched enough movies about all of the chaos of going to college, and so they want to provide that for their child. Hey, that's great. More power to you. But what's the best path? And by the way, we're no experts in this. We're trying to raise our families as well. But from my point of view, it's try and look down the road, 2 years, 4 years, 6 years, 10 years down the road, and what's the end goal? And sure, the student might not know what they want to focus in. There is nothing wrong with a couple years at the local JC. They're able to work. They're able to get further on into their lives and get a better understanding of what they want to do. Save some dollars. You can spend some more on that final degree program at maybe a different school that specializes in that. There's so many options out there. It's a great time to explore. We've never had more information with regard to education available to everybody.
See, my advice is make your kids pay for part of it. Because I think if they pay for part of it, they own it, they take it more seriously.
So that's what we've done with our kids, is that they'll get the loans, they'll qualify what they can, and then at the end, if they go ahead and finish the degree program, we'll help them pay it off. We're not going to pay it off beforehand and be on the hook beforehand so they can just go, well, college wasn't for me, 50 grand later.
Right.
You have to have skin in the game. Otherwise, it's no longer, it's just another year of...
Otherwise, it's a big wealth transfer.
Yes.
And you get nothing out of it. Everything in life that you have skin in the game and you own, you take way more seriously than if you don't.
Even if they wipe out your debt?
I think everyone... Well, see, then you go to Bernie Sanders' whole idea of college should be free for everybody, right? But then who funds it? Because the endowments all these big colleges have, they get it from somewhere. It just becomes a difficult situation. Well, we'd love to hear from you if you're listening and you have ideas on this. Come chat with us online at bondedvoices.com or on any of the podcast services you use that have chat. Send us a note on there and we'll respond. So, till next time, I'm Ian.
I'm Greg.
This is Loren.
And we'll see you next time on Bonded Voices.
Hi, this is Ian from Bonded Voices. Each month we will be giving away $100 in gift cards to our fans. All you have to do is register on the bondedvoices.com site and solve the monthly puzzle. It's easy to do, no purchase necessary. Thanks for being a listener.